I was being told of like I'm a child sort of thing, and that's not how I expect you to ever handle a situation like that.
Certain things that you do really remind me of my ex.
That doesn't sit right with me. I feel like exes are exes for a reason.
There's trouble in paradise. I did not expect them to explode like this, but and I don't understand why they're actually fighting amongst themselves. I don't understand why Shaq and Tanya are fighting because at the end of the day, it's not that deep. I don't understand how. It seems Shaq sort of understands that what he did was wrong, and he has owned up and apologized to Ron. But I don't understand how Tanya cannot understand what Shaq is trying to say to her. Anyway, hey there, it's Valerie. Welcome back. If you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe, leave a like and a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island, Season 9, Episode 26. So the islanders wake up, everybody's still talking about the meal from the previous day and, giving their ratings and their opinions. After that, they go for debriefing. And, there is a conversation where Tom is sort of saying that, he is now open to getting to know Sammy. He really feels he's got a great connection with her. So he wants to bring down his walls and and let go of his ego and stuff like that. And it's like, it's a wait and see. I sadly don't buy anything Tom sells because he said the same thing about Zara, and look where they are now. Um, Sammy, on her part, agrees with Tom. She feels they're getting to know each other. They like their connection and they're happy. Casey's on cloud nine. The guys are excited for him because he got another kiss in bed. So feels him and Claudia are doing amazing. Claudia's also happy. She tells the girls that they had a kiss in bed and they're doing amazing. Lana then says, she feels her connection with Ron has got stronger. And it's like, I don't get this connection has got stronger issue. If your connection was that strong, his head wouldn't turn. Next week is Casa Amor. The only reason Ron's head won't turn is because he'll be afraid that the guys will give him hell, not because he doesn't want to. His head is turned for every bombshell. So how strong is your connection? I've been saying this. I really feel for Lana, and it's sad that she can't see what everybody else sees. Ron then starts telling the guys, I was speaking to Lana. We've decided to, we feel our connection is stronger. We're very happy. I can see myself falling in love with her. She is wifey material, and you can see by the look on Shaq's face that he's not impressed. He's not impressed because I think Shaq has got himself so much in trouble because he's become emotionally invested in Lana's well-being, and by so doing, he sees through what Ron is doing, and that infuriates him. And because he can't get Lana to understand what Ron is doing, this is why he's sort of frustrated with Ron, I think. Briefing, Ron goes off with Kai and they're having a conversation, and he's telling Kai how excited Lana got when he told her he could see himself falling in love with her. And I've been wondering why Ron and Kai have suddenly got close. And I think I might be wrong. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I remember in the kitchen when Casey was making breakfast for Lana, and um, Shaq was there, and he was saying to Casey, "I'm so happy you're doing this for Lana. She deserves someone who treats her very well, and I'm happy to see that you're finally stepping up. I don't feel that Ron was doing that." And when Shaq was saying this, Kai was in the same sort of area, and I remember in my review at the time saying, "I hope." Kai doesn't take this back to Ron. And I think Kai took it back to Ron, but we were not shown Kai taking it back to Ron because suddenly Kai and Ron became close friends and Ron started confiding in Kai. And I think this is the reason why this all has sort of happened, all the drama has come up. I think it's as a result of the fact that Shaq was praising Casey and complimenting him for the way he was treating Lana, and I think this is why this big rift in the villa. Anyway, Shaq then comes across and asks to have a conversation with Ron, so that they can iron out their differences because all the guys you can tell understand that something is not right and something needs to be done. Ron then says that he feels like the reason why they've fallen out is because of the whole Lana issue, and also the fact that he felt that Shaq took Casey's side because he agreed with Casey more, and he felt that Ron had known Shaq longer, and they expected Shaq to sort of still be friends with him, but it seemed Shaq was taking sides. And I understand where they're both coming from. And I have to give credit to Shaq because when Ron said that, he acknowledged that he wasn't aware that that's how he came across to Ron, and he apologized. And I wish people would give credit where credit is due because he didn't argue the case to say no, this is not. No, he told him, I understand what you're saying, and I want to apologize if that's how I made you feel. So I hate when people just focus on the negative because now people are now crucifying Shaq because Shaq was didn't like one of the guys was the way one of the guys was moving and tried to sort of speak to the guy about it. He didn't go to Lana and say, Lana, I don't like the way you guys moving, like what Tom did. He went to Ron and told Ron, I don't like the way you're treating Lana. You need to try and do better. She deserves better than what you're doing. When he saw someone treating Lana the way she should be treated, he went and they acknowledged that. So I don't get why people suddenly are all, oh, Shaq this, Shaq, but Shaq is wrong. Yes, understand me. Shaq was wrong in his delivery on how he walked across to Ron and sort of said to Ron, "You need to stand up and come and wash the dishes." Yes, that was wrong. The tone of voice is at times when you're not agreeing with someone, your tone of voice or it's about the delivery, the presentation, and the appearance, and how the person who's receiving it feels. And in that moment, Ron was not in a space to sort of kid around with Shaq. I think had that incident happened when they were still very close before Casey came in and before the fallout about Lana, I don't think Ron would have taken it that seriously. Just as I don't think Shaq would have taken Ron's sort of skiving and not wanting to participate in the task seriously. But because there was already an underlying cause, this is why things exploded. So I am happy that they were able to sit down as men and have a conversation about it and not argue or make a big deal out of it. So that I liked conversation with Ron, Shaq walks across to sort of where Tanya and Lana are sitting to just. I think he went there to tell them or to sort of let them know that things had been resolved between him and Ron, and I don't think he expected what transpired after that. And I think this is where I feel things went wrong between him and Tanya because he came there, he told them, and that should have been it. They should have said, "Oh, that's great. At least you guys have ironed that out. That's the important bit." Whatever Lana's opinion was of this incident, she should have gone and spoken to Ron about it because this is not what Shaq was there for. And also, Tanya, I don't understand what she doesn't understand about this whole incident because Shaq's deal was not that. Why did you tell me that I was wrong? His deal was, you're my girlfriend. I've done something wrong. Pull me aside away from company and speak to me. Tell me what I've done wrong because had she spoken to him at first and on her own and told him, babe, what you did was wrong. You need to remember there's a time and a place for everything and be mindful of how you can come across. And then come back and said, oh, Lana wants to have a conversation with you about the incident yesterday. Do you mind if the three of us sit down and have a conversation? I think he would have taken it way better. But the fact that she never said anything to him, or we were never shown her saying anything to him, which I don't believe to be true because I think this whole Lana Tanya incident was set up by the producers. I have a feeling that Shaq and Tanya already spoke about this in bed the night before because there's no way they would have slept the whole night through without discussing it, given the fact that Tanya had told us that she was going to have a conversation with Shaq. I don't buy it. So I think this whole thing was producer driven and it somehow got out of hand. Girls then receive a text to say they're going out for cocktails. And so they get ready and go. The guys, at first, they're sort of wondering, what are we going to do without the girls? And then they start celebrating that it's going to be a guy's day, a guy's day. Once the girls are having drinks, they start having a conversation. I think those glasses were empty. They looked empty the way they were holding them. Anyway, Lana starts talking about, they've been through a lot, and she feels that she is doing very well with Ron, and that they've overcome the hurdles, and so now everything is going to be smooth sailing. And Olivia was like, I don't normally agree with Olivia, but she was right to say, I think he has to prove himself a lot more. He has to do more than he has actually done. And Lana was like, well, he's going to prove us all wrong. And it's like, why can't you see what everybody else in the villa is saying? Why can't you listen to your girls if and when they're telling you that, this guy might not be it for you? Anyway, everybody else talks about their connections and how happy they are in their couplings. Jess is going on about Will and how happy she is. And then I didn't like that Tanya brought up the issue with Shaq again in front of the girls. I understand Tanya's got concerns about Shaq, but I think you could tell the girls were uncomfortable as soon as she started talking. You could tell the girls were uncomfortable. Yes, Lana, I think, has now got this dislike for Shaq, which is surprising given the fact that the bad blood with Ron came from Shaq trying to protect Lana. So I don't understand how she can be upset that someone was trying to protect her. I don't get that. Anyway, we then get back to the villa. The boys are there, and suddenly Kai is mixing with everybody else. He's sitting with Tom. They're having a conversation, obviously, about missing the girls. All the guys are very relaxed and laid back and sort of enjoying themselves. Casey does tell them about, his connection with Claudia, and it's like, it's early days. I don't know. I don't think there's anything to talk about. I think he's excited that he finally has someone who really likes him. That's the important bit to him. And then Shaq had a conversation with Will, and it was really nice because I think this is the first time I got to see Will actually have a serious grown-up conversation because Shaq was sort of venting about, what happened with the girls when he tried to tell them about his conversation with Ron. And I think he was just looking for someone to give him an unbiased opinion because Shaq, I think, is someone who believes in honesty and will take it. I think it's just on how you deliver it to him. If you don't come correct, then he's going to get upset. And so it was nice to see him have a conversation with Will. And Will actually said, no, you were not being malicious when you called Ron. You were doing that because you wanted it to be fair, that everybody participate in clearing the kitchen, just, so that no one felt like, they were being taken advantage of. And so that was a great conversation to see. So we get back to the girls and they're talking about how the girls are tighter than the boys, and it's like the only reason why the girls are tighter is because they've got rid of everybody else they didn't like. That's it. They've got rid of Zara because they didn't like Zara. They've got rid of um Tanil because they didn't like Tanil. This is why they feel they're, a close knit group. They don't want anyone who's outspoken because the minute you become outspoken, they get rid of you. That's how I see it. And then it gets to, the boys. And Tanya sort of says, the reason why the boys are not close is because of Ron and Shaq, because Shaq wasn't happy with the way Ron treated you. And in nothing that was said did Lana turn around and say, oh, I appreciate Shaq for sticking up for me. No, I didn't hear her say that. And I remember one of the girls said, "Oh, it comes from a good place," but somebody else, "Oh, they need to remember that Ron has feelings." Yes, Ron has feelings, but someone is trying to look after one of the girls. At least appreciate him for that. I know it sounds across as though I approve of everything Shaq has done. I do not, but I think I am for him protecting the girls and making sure that the girls are looked after. That's just me. So the guys are at the villa, sort of relaxing and waiting for the girls. And as soon as the girls get back, they are very excited to see the girls. Um, Apparently, according to Ron, Kai was looking like a lost puppy because he was missing Olivia. I really don't get that relationship. I don't get when they suddenly became that close, but it could just be me. They get ready for the evening, everybody's excited, they get their drinks and they go and they sit in their couples. So Lana and Ron have a conversation and Ron is saying, Lana is asking, how did it go when the girls were away? And he says, oh, it was way better. And you can see on her face, she's still very upset. And personally, I don't get why Lana's aggrieved. I don't get why she's aggrieved. Yes, yeah, it's her boyfriend. But at the end of the day, it had nothing to do with her. Just as it had nothing to do with Tanya. This was the guys arguing amongst themselves. And with guys, they're quick to iron out issues. And now the girls have held on to this. And the guys have moved on from it. So I don't get why she's upset. Obviously, Ron says he feels that since Casey's now in a coupling with Claudia, he is much better off, and the fact that since with Shaq he's ironed out his issues, so he feels things are way better, and he's now comfortable sort of speaking to Shaq if anything comes up. And I think the reason why he was not comfortable is because he was guilty, because he knew he was wrong for what he was being called out for. That's just my opinion. We then go back to Tanya and Shaq, and personally, I don't get why things blew up because Shaq was trying to tell Tanya that it's not about what you said, but it's the fact that you spoke to me in front of somebody else. And that I did not appreciate. And I don't get why Tanya couldn't just say, oh, you know, I'm sorry that's how you felt. I think the you remind me of my ex comment was just below the belt. I didn't like that. I didn't like that because had Shaq said the same thing to her, she would have blown up. So I don't know why she went below the belt like that. I really don't know whether this argument between Shaq and Tanya was engineered by the producers because they seemed to be very smooth sailing. And I think it's because they knew that the chances of Shaq's head being turned in Casamo were highly unlikely. And so they did not want him to sail through the whole season being an angel. And I think this is why they brought in all this drama to make it seem as though Shaq and Tanya are about to split up or they are falling out or Shaq is such a bad guy because of the way he talks to people or the way he behaves. I think this whole thing is producer driven. I think this whole thing is producer driven because the way they were talking, you could tell there was more to it. And I don't get why it had to go to that. And I don't, I sort of understand where they're both coming from. L- Tanya saying she didn't like the way Shaq spoke to Ron. She felt, he doesn't always have to give his opinion about things, and there is a time and a place for things. So she didn't like that. But I also get where Shaq is coming from in the sense that you can talk to me, that's fine, but you don't need an audience to talk to me. And the fact that Tanya is now playing victim in this incident. I don't like it. Yes, Shaq is wrong. Don't get me wrong. Shaq is wrong in how he delivered his message to Ron. He's wrong for that. But I think he has taken responsibility for his actions. And the sad bit is everyone else involved in this whole thing has not. And I don't understand how they can't see that they're not taking responsibility for their actions. Tanya should have just said, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have brought, I know I was already sitting with Lana there. But as soon as the topic came up, I should have said, no, let's wait. Shaq and I will talk, and then you and I and Shaq will sit down and talk later. That's what she should have done because in nowhere did Lana call Tanya to say let's go and speak to Ron about what happened during that incident. I don't think so. We didn't see that, but I didn't see them going to say, okay, Ron, can you go and apologize to the guys for the way you were playing up when they were calling you? I didn't like that. Um, I didn't realize that Will and Shaq were that close because after he blew up with Tanya, he then stood up and went and had a conversation with Will. And I think Will was able to pacify him. Whereas the girls, I don't think they told her the truth. They should have told her the truth. You're wrong for talking about your ex-one. You're wrong for bringing Lana along to have a conversation with Shaq. It should have been the two of you first before you brought in a third party. The third party should have only come in to mediate if you felt you couldn't understand each other. Able to say, you have to understand that it's not going to be smooth sailing in a relationship all the time. There are going to be good days and bad days, and it shows the two of you care and the two of you are willing to work through it. And that's how you can become stronger as a couple. And hopefully things will get better. So I think after their time out, they decided to give it a second try because Shaq was saying, this girl is very stubborn. I am stubborn. She is even more stubborn. I've never seen anyone. And it's like, okay, it is what it is. Interesting to see their second time round because Tanya was trying to apologize without apologizing. And it's like, oh my God. And so they during their conversation, because everyone in the kitchen was saying, "Oh, that conversation looks very serious," and she was trying, and Tanya was trying to say, I'll never say, it's not good for me to talk about my ex, and Chuck was right to say, I will never appreciate being compared to your ex because I'm not your ex-boyfriend, and your ex is an ex for a reason, so that is unacceptable. And I like the fact that he sets boundaries so she understands and she knows in future not to do that. Sadly, they didn't finish their conversation because girls in the kitchen received a message to say they have to gather around the fire pit, and then they received a text message that the public have been voting for their favorite couples and the bottom three need to stand up. And the bottom three are Jordan and Dali. Obviously, they're in a friendship couple. Tom and Sammy was to be expected because Tom, people are still upset with him about the whole Zara thing. And Olivia and Kai. Hmm. Olivia has burnt a lot of bridges with fans, so I'm not surprised that they're in the bottom three couples. And then I thought the Islanders would get to save, and I was really looking forward to Kai and Olivia going home just because I wanted to see what would happen to Ron. I know I'm evil. I know I'm sorry. But then Jordan and Ellie were told they were going home, which was to be expected. If the Islanders had been asked to save one, two of the couples, there's no way I could see them sending home Kai or sending home Tom. So chances are Jordan was still going to go home, and sadly, Ellie was going home because she's coupled up with Jordan. It's sad that both Ellie and Jordan didn't get a fair shot. I know they really did try, but sadly, they were not able to establish connections with anyone. But hey, it is what it is. Thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Bye everyone.